The Nintendo Switch 2 is back with more official news coming to the surface. This means that Nintendo fans should be very happy, but let's break that all down. Up next. What's going on, guys? It's Kalo, and I'm here to give you the lowdown on all things gaming. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content. Drop a like on the video, and welcome to the Level Up. I don't really want to jinx it right now, but the Nintendo Switch 2 has been fairly quiet for a week or so. I'll be honest, I think it was very needed, seeing how for the past, month or so, we've been hammering that poor console to death and extracting every last bit of content from it. But fear not, if you missed our Switch 2 watch on this here channel, we are fully back because we have more official news to talk about. One of the big things I was worried about heading into the release of the Switch 2 was the stock Nintendo would create to potentially meet outrageous demand for the device. I mean, heading into this thing, you're basically releasing the successor of one of, if not the most successful video game console of all time. So it's pretty safe to say there's gonna be a lot of eyes on it. Plus, we here in the gaming sphere aren't entirely new to this kind of news, especially when it comes to console shortages. I mean, we can look back to just a few years ago, especially if you were lucky to get your hands on an Xbox Series X or a PS5 on day one, and that was all through the pandemic. And on any other given day, pandemic aside, we must deal with those pesky scalpers out there who are no doubt salivating at the prospect for this console. Well, Nintendo's president Shintaro Furukawa was asked about this here problem, and how Nintendo aims to respond to potentially negate, or at the very least, combat this demand and scalpers alike. Quote, "We will take all possible measures based on the experience we have accumulated to date regarding to scalpers and the like. We are making preparations." Now, like I said earlier, there's gonna be a ton of demand for this console. Not only for the fact us hardcore gamers are very much into it, but you gotta think at the end of the day, there's a lot of casual gamers out there, pretty much people who just want the console that plays the newest Mario. And I've seen the response to this online, and people, myself included, are kind of skeptical on how exactly Nintendo could do this, and if that's even possible. I also think this goes without saying, big box stores and any other retailers that are selling this console don't really care who buys it at the end of the day. A sale's a sale to them. And in theory, Nintendo could just make a ton of Switch 2s and flood the market, which I do think that's more likely, but from a business sense, I guess that's not entirely plausible. But if I look back to last year, apparently rumors were making the rounds that Nintendo was prepping over 20 million Switch 2 units for sale, and that's all in year one alone. This also plays into the rumors that the Switch 2's general delay, one in part was really to iron out the software side of things, but the other half of that was to meet this demand. I also just see scalpers as a huge problem to Nintendo right now, primarily because they're taking away consoles from what would be buyers, who would in turn go on to buy more games, subscriptions, and all the other things that Nintendo makes their money on. Let's not forget, they don't make their money on the console alone, they make it on software. Nintendo could also just go the route where you jump through a bunch of hoops to get the Switch 2, and let's face it, that does sound on brand for them. For that, I look to Alarmo and how you needed an NSO account to purchase the damn thing. Let's be honest, who actually did it and who actually enjoyed Alarmo? Let me know if you did. But let's face it, that could be a solid option for Nintendo. And at the same time, you are driving up users on NSO. But a simple method I think Nintendo, and let's face it, all console makers should adopt through all this, is just limit the damn thing to one per customer. Because, let's be honest, why do you need two Switch 2s on day one? You can buy the one up front, and then a couple months down the line, buy your second console. Also, speaking of the Switch 2, since we are talking about it, a nice little update, we got that April Direct date, and we got a time for it. That's right, we're gonna be watching this Direct on April 2nd at 6 a.m. Pacific time and 9 a.m. Eastern. So, I think it's pretty safe to say, mark your calendars, set your alarms, or your alarmos, because that's gonna be a big day. But with all that being said, I'm gonna pass this one off to you guys. How do you think Nintendo should handle all this? Honestly, they should probably just make more Switch 2s, But let me know if you got a new way down below. But that about does it here. I've been Kalo, I gave you the lowdown on all things gaming, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to this channel for weekly video game news content, drop a like on the video, and this has been the Level Up.